Well, the 2016 ATP Tour draws to an end next week with the World Tour, the season-ending World Tour finals at the O2 Arena. The top 8 players in the world, and a new number 1 in Andy Murray playing in front of his home crowd. And who better to talk us through this with his expert tips? None other than former world number 4 and a man that has participated in this event on many occasions, Robin Soderling. Robin, great to have you on board yet again for the final tournament of the 2016 season.
Thank you. Nice to be back.
Robin, what a tournament. What a great accolade for anybody to win this season, ending all the very best players in the world, all the hard work they put in 2016. It sees them qualify for this. Sadly, no Roger Federer or Rafa Nadal down to injury, but still a high-quality field this year.
It is. You know, I think for every top player, I think the goal they set up for the start of the season is obviously, of course, doing well in the Grand Slams and the big tournaments, but also the long-term goal is, I think, for almost everyone, is to reach the World Tour finals, because that shows you had a good year and you've been consistent, you played a lot of matches, won a lot of matches. So, you know, here they are. It's the world's top 8 players right now competing for the last tournament of the year. It's a really nice tournament. It's great for the players. The atmosphere is always fantastic there. So I'm pretty sure that everybody will enjoy it. You know, there's a couple of new players that's competing for the first time, and they will have a great experience as well.
Not too many players other than Novak Djokovic or Roger Federer have actually won the season-ending World Tour final since, I think, 2004. Nikolai Davydenko springs to mind as one. There's one other which the name eludes me, but I mean, certainly a tournament that has dominated normally by the world number 1 coming into it. Particularly good sign for Andy Murray. Let's talk a little bit about him. We did last week at the Paris Masters. Everything seems to have gone in his favour, resulting in being world number 1 in Paris. I mean, it's unbelievable achievement.
Yeah, I think he's been solid throughout the whole year, but now at the end of the season he's been playing outstanding. You know, winning his last four tournaments, and that at the same time was when Djokovic is finally starting to lose his momentum a little bit. You know, he's been outstanding for so many years, but now Murray I think he really deserved to be the world number 1, because right now he's the best player in the world, but it can change really quick.
You've played in this tournament on a few occasions. Let's quickly touch on the conditions before we get down to the players themselves and the groups. The conditions inside the court. I mean, are we looking at a fast surface, or are we looking? What are we looking at, and what sort of player are we potentially looking at that will do well in these indoor conditions?
Yeah, I think it's the years I played. It was pretty slow in the beginning, pretty rough surface, but during after a couple of days, a few days, when the tournament goes into its later stages, you know, it's a lot faster, because it's a surface that gets worn out pretty fast. You know, it gets faster the more you play on it. So I think, you know, I would say it's a medium speed court, and I think, you know, there's a couple of really good indoor players in this field. You know, Raonic is great. Nishikori can do really well indoors, and then Murray as well.
Well, let's take a look at these players. And just to let people know the format out there, the top 8 players broken up into 2 groups. The draw is already made for those, so there's a round robin that takes place first. Plenty of betting opportunities with high-quality players in the matchups, in the group stage matches. And let's look at the top group here, John McEnroe group. The top seed there, none other than the new world number 1, Andy Murray. Quick run through his stats for the season so far, Robin. 8 tournament wins, 3 Masters events, which he won in Rome, Shanghai, and Paris. A Wimbledon championship yet again, an Olympic medal, and then, of course, 3 other tournament wins at Vienna, China, Queens. A runner-up at the French Open, runner-up at the Australian Open, and runner-up at 2 more Masters Series events in Madrid and Cincinnati. I mean, that's a phenomenal year for any tennis player by any standard.
Yeah, as I told you, you know, he really deserves to be the world number 1. You know, he plays so smart, and you know, he's been the second best player for a long time now. But now, when Djokovic is starting to lose his confidence, his momentum a little bit, Murray has really been there and stepped up his game, and he had a fantastic year, and especially the end of this year has been, you know, as good as anyone ever played. I think winning his last 4 tournaments, you know, he's really the favorite now going into this World Tour final.
Absolutely, and with BetSafe at 5-4, he certainly is the favourite to lift his first World Tour finals and really establish himself as the world #1 going into 2017. Continuing in the John McEnroe group, Stan Wawrinka, 4 tournament wins so far this year. A couple of those coming quite early in the year, looking good for Wawrinka back then in Chennai and Dubai. 2 hard-court surface wins there as well, which underlines his credentials for this tournament. And of course, a US Open title where he defeated Djokovic, another hard-court win for him. 9 hard-court titles in all. Despite it being known at times to be inconsistent, he does bring his best game to the biggest tournaments and, of course, on the hard-court surface.
Yeah, I think no one knows where you have him. You know, he can play outstanding tennis, winning US Open, and which was his 3rd Grand Slam title. But you know, in between the bigger tournaments, you know, he can really lose his form, and he hasn't played really well at all since the US Open. But now coming into the World Tour Finals, yet again another big tournament, and you can never count out Wawrinka, because when he's playing his best tennis, he can beat anyone, and he's just as good as Murray and Djokovic.
Stan Wawrinka at 9-1 with BetSafe. Tell me, Robin, I mean, we can always tell when Roger Federer comes into Wimbledon, for example, if you think he's going to have a really great championship, when you see his serve and his feet moving so gracefully across the court very early in the tournament. Are there any signs with Wawrinka potentially that a bettor can look at in the round robin stages to see where his game at, his backhand perhaps, or is there any signs that he clearly obvious to a tennis fan out there that this is going to be a good week for the Swiss?
I think on Wawrinka especially, you have to look out for how he's behaving, how his mental status is, you know, because sometimes you really see he's not really there, he's not putting in the 100%, he's not focused enough, and sometimes he looks pretty tired on court. You know, I know he trains a lot, but then, you know, you just see some tournaments he looks like he's flying around the court. So I would really say, like, when he looks like really determined, then he's playing his best tennis, and also his movement. I think sometimes, as I said, you know, when he looks a little bit slow, he doesn't move as well, and then he's not as good as when he plays his best tennis. But Wawrinka is that kind of player that he rarely plays really good in the beginning of any tournaments, you know. So if he can pass, let's say if he passed the group stage, then he's going to be really dangerous. So the danger for Wawrinka is going to be in the first couple of matches.
There you go. Great tip there from Robin Soderling. Have a look at his mental state. We know he can win the big tournaments. We've seen him do it at the US Open this year as well. A very talented Japanese player in Kei Nishikori. Thoroughly deserves to be in the World Tour Finals. I'm a big fan of him at 20-1. A really great player, and one that has proved in the past that he can take on the very best. 1 tournament win only this year in Memphis, but 3 runners-up in big tournaments as well. Miami, Barcelona, Canada, and the Swiss indoors. 9 of his 11 tournament wins coming on the hard courts. 20-1 could be a good bet for this young Japanese star.
Yeah, I think definitely he has a chance. You know, he's one of the outsiders apart from Murray and Djokovic, and he's a really good hardcourt player, and he plays well indoors. You know, he played the finals in Basel. He didn't play that well apart from Basel since the US Open, but he's always dangerous, and if he can be injury free, he's gonna have a good chance to get past the group stage.
And finally, the last player in the John McEnroe group, Marin Cilic, of course, former US Open winner, 2 tournament wins this year in Cincinnati Masters, where he beat Andy Murray, the Swiss indoors, where he beat Kei Nishikori, also featuring in the World Tour Finals, runner-up in Geneva and Marseille, recent win over Novak Djokovic in Shanghai as well. He's going to come in here full of confidence, and of course that big booming serve.
Oh yeah, he played extremely well the last part of this season. You know, he beat Djokovic in Paris, he won Basel, he won Cincinnati, and you know, I really think that he's playing his best tennis right now. He's been a little bit inconsistent as well as Wawrinka has, but when he plays well, he's a danger to anyone, and with his serve indoors, he's going to be really dangerous. But I think that will show how his form is, like after the first match. Then you can really tell if he's going to do well here or not.
Another great tip there from Robin. Keep an eye very closely on Marin Cilic's game, and especially his serve. 33-2 with BetSafe. Let's move on now to the Ivan Lendl group and Novak Djokovic. Of course, I suppose we're all hoping for a Djokovic-Murray final. Certainly the local faithful will be there. You talk about a guy who's losing his momentum. 7 tournament wins this year, an Australian Open and a French Open thrown into that. Indian Wells, Miami, Madrid and Canada. 4 Masters Series events just for good measure. And then another victory in Qatar. Runner-up as well in the Italian and the US Open. 50 titles in career in all on the hard courts. I mean, still an unbelievable season from an unbelievable player. It just showcases the supreme effort from Andy Murray to overtake him.
Yeah. No, Djokovic has been. I mean, for the most part of this year, he's been the best player, but he lost. I think he lost some confidence after US Open. He doesn't look as hungry anymore, and he lost a few matches against players we rarely see him lose to. But even though he plays far from his best tennis, he still, made the semifinals of Shanghai. And US Open, and even though he's not playing well, he still beats a lot of players. So I think he's gonna go past the group stages without playing his best tennis.
Novak Djokovic 7-5 to be the winner of the tournament for the 5th consecutive year and 6th time in all, which will equal Roger Federer's dominance at the World Tour Finals. Just one last point on Novak. I mean, I seem to remember when Roger was dominating the world of tennis and he had his first set of twins. There seemed to be an adjustment in his life, of course, understandably so, having been a parent myself, and a slump in his form as a result. Do you see potentially maybe that's what's happening to Novak as well? A new child recently born in the family, and he's just maybe adjusting to life?
I don't know, but I can really see him after he won the French Open, the only Grand Slams that he didn't win before. He was really chasing this title for many years, and now he finally made it, and he won the French Open this year. And after that, I had some sort of feeling that he was pretty satisfied, and satisfied can be good, but you can never be too satisfied. It doesn't seem like he's that hungry anymore, and it's just a matter of a couple of 5 or 10%. But even when a player like Djokovic loses the confidence, loses the momentum, he's not safe against anyone. So it's a matter of the mental stage with Djokovic as well.
Well, moving on in the Ivan Lendl group, and here's a guy that certainly has plenty of hunger and fire in his belly, and one of the biggest serves in the game, Canadian Milos Raonic. Unfortunately, injury forced him to withdraw in the semi-finals of the Paris Masters, a tournament he's done very well in the past. But make no mistake, if this guy is fit, at 20-1, it's a very nice little outside bet, isn't it?
Of course, he's a contender to win the title, especially indoors, and with his serve and the way he played in Paris. Of course, as you said, Dominic, there's a big question mark for his about his injuries. He had to pull out against Murray, but if he's healthy, he can beat anyone, and I think he's gonna go through the group stages.
And all of his 9 tournament wins have actually come on the hard court. Only one win this year, early on in the season at Brisbane. Obviously again a hard court, but runner-up at Indian Wells, Queens, and of course that wonderful performance at Wimbledon. This guy is a serious contender, as Robin says, at 20-1 at BetSafe. We've spoken about him quite often this season. Gael Monfils, the erratic but very, very talented Frenchman who's managed to have almost a full season, I think, injury-free. Only 1 title this year in Washington, but still richly deserves his place in this season-ending showpiece.
Yes, very much. He had his best season of his career so far. He played really well up until the semifinals in US Open. Then he started to have some problems again with some small injuries, and actually since US Open he didn't play well at all. Lost a lot of matches against players he should have beaten, and it's a big question mark as well for Monfils and his physical status.
Dominic Thiem, a very young, talented player, which again we've spoken about quite often throughout the year. Robin, 4 titles this year in Argentina, Mexico, Nice, and Stuttgart, underlining his talent really on all 3 different surfaces. So, I mean, certainly one for the future, absolutely. I mean, a tremendous year, winning 1 tournament more than he did one last year. 39-1 with BetSafe. How do you see young Dominic Thiem getting on?
He's gonna have a tough year, I think, this week. He's gonna, he played extremely well the first half of this year, but after that he didn't play well at all. And no, as you said, he's a great player. He's gonna do well in the future, but right now indoors, I really see him having some big troubles. But you know, the thing is, this group, the Ivan Lendl group, is a little bit weaker than the John McEnroe group. So we'll see. You know, it's going to be a key match between Thiem and Monfils. Whoever wins this match has a small chance. But I would say I think Djokovic and Raonic are going to go through.
Okay, well, let's now put you on the spot. So we're going to get you, Robin, to pick who you think the top two players will advance through from both the McEnroe and the Lendl group. And we'll begin with the McEnroe group. Really, goodness me, an absolute group of death there with Andy Murray and Stan Wawrinka, Kei Nishikori and Marin Cilic. I mean, you know, pick your two from that group at your own peril.
Obviously, Andy Murray, it's tough to bet against him, even though, you know, in the past he didn't do really well at the World Tour Finals, but at the same time, that's, you know, I know that he wants to do really well, you know, finish the season in style as the world number one. A dream for him is to win, of course, maybe the World Tour Finals. So Murray's going to go through, and then, you know, it's really difficult to pick one, but I will pick an outsider, and I will pick Cilic. As I said, depending on his form, I know his form is good, depending on his physical status, but he's been playing really well, and when he's on, he can beat anyone. So I will pick an outsider for the second player to go through in that group, and that will be Cilic.
Okay, well, there you go. That's Marin Cilic, and of course Andy Murray to advance through from the John McEnroe group. Quick reminder of the Ivan Lendl group: Novak Djokovic, Milos Raonic, obviously injury pending as well, Monfils, and finally young Dominic Thiem. Who are you going to go for there?
You know, even though Djokovic didn't play his best tennis since the US Open, he's by far the best player in this group. You know, this is the weaker group, and I think, you know, without playing his best tennis, he's gonna go through for sure. And then I will pick Milos Raonic. If he's healthy, he's a far better player than both Monfils and Thiem, especially indoors on hard courts. So I have to say Djokovic and Raonic.
And the big one, Robin, who will end the season-ending finale, World Tour Finals, holding aloft that trophy for 2016. Bearing in mind, Novak Djokovic, he's going for a fifth consecutive win there. Andy going for a first one. Many other players never having won this that are partaking this year. But who are you going to stick your neck on the line, and who are you going to pick?
You know, I picked Murray for the Paris tournament, but I think I will change my mind now and go for Djokovic. You know, even though he didn't play well, you know, he had 2 weeks rest after Paris, and he really wants to finish this season off well. So, you know, he showed, as you said, you know, he showed that he really likes to play in London, in the O2 Arena. He won the last five years. So I think Djokovic gonna beat Murray in the finals this time.
Novak Djokovic at 7-5, and obviously if he does do, he reclaims the world number one spot, although Andy Murray has officially finished 2016 as world number one. The duel looks set to continue into 2017, which, I mean, if we see the level of tennis, and hopefully Rafa Nadal can find some form and fitness again with Roger Federer, we've got a fantastic 17 to look forward to. But that's the final time we'll be talking to you for this year, Robin. Thank you very much indeed for your contribution around the Masters events and the Grand Slams, and hopefully we can repeat this again next year, but thank you so much for your contribution.
Thank you so much. Thank you.